Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Fantasy Den podcast. I've got to get used to doing this. I'm not doing this very often. You would be used to right now hearing the sultry sounds of Sam. Instead, you have got to deal with me. Luckily, though, for all of you ladies and gentlemen out there, we have Kiarn and Liam with us, in which you can actually enjoy. So you can enjoy yourselves a little bit. Gents, how are we this week?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Not bad. Ready for another show? Ready to talk about all the fantasy free agent winners and losers this off season so far.
No, exactly. Like you said, just excited to get into some of the free agents. I was just saying to Liam before we got started there. I thought it was going to be easier than it was. Kind of on how to evaluate a couple of the guys, but yeah, we'll get into that and see what I think.
Brilliant. Well, I'm sure we've just lost a load of listeners who didn't realise what the Fantasy Den was all about, and then they've realised it's about American football, and they're gone now.
That's for the last
No,
10 minutes. We keep them wanting more.
yeah. I'm sure these other podcasts out there for you wouldn't know. DM me. I've got some recommendations. Um, you will be able to find my app. Is it there? There we go.
Yeah.
Right there. Lions Guy Fletch, send me a DM. I've got some recommendations for what you were really after. Anyway, so as has been said, we're going to start talking about free agents and how they're going to benefit and who's going to benefit in fantasy football from them. Before we get into it, I get to do this on here now as well. Don't forget to follow us on the AAW Network on social media. Join our free to join Discord server, and you can find all the relevant links and information in the description of this episode if you're on YouTube. They are right below their beautiful faces and my face too. And if you are listening on Spotify or Apple, you will find them inside the app that you are listening on. Right, so straight into it. Um, I'm just going to run off the notes that Sam gave me. I'm going to be a good boy this week. I'm not going to run off. Running back roulette and quarterback refresh. Um, okay, so who wants to go first on this one? As far as I'm gonna
I'll
guess, running backs and quarterbacks go.
yeah. I think if we start with quarterbacks, then let's
Yeah,
talk about my
Yeah.
my new guy, Malik Willis. Moved over from the Packers to the Dolphins, 3-year deal. Only like I thought the contract was quite reasonable, like 67 million and only 45 million guaranteed. So sounds like a 2-year deal to me. So Dolphins have the chance to get out of it if they need to. But I think it's a good deal for both Willis and the Finns. I think like I said, they haven't paid over the odds. And he'll get an opportunity to sort of be the central figure of a team that's been built around him. I think fantasy wise, year one, don't expect a lot.
hmm
Could be a real late round super flex pickup. But I do think going forward, when the team's building around his skill set, which is be keeping hold of the ball, not throwing a lot of interceptions, keeping it safe, and then using his feet. I can see him being a useful like QB2 year one and even like weekly QB1 upside. I don't think he's going to break into the top 12 quarterbacks this year. I don't think there's enough weapons on that team, and I think the team's going to be pretty poor.
Yeah,
However, next year I'm a little bit more excited about him as well. So I think, yeah, genuine QB2, QB1 upside, especially if he gets a couple of touchdowns on the ground. Um, and I think he's a winner. In all honesty, I know it sounds wild to call a Dolphins player a winner this offseason, but I genuinely think he's got the basis to be a solid quarterback for years to come with the Dolphins and hopefully our franchise guy because I'm sick of us not having a good quarterback.
yeah,
So yeah, that's my
entirely fair. And do you think he'll benefit? You look at how certain quarterbacks end up being able to stat pad a little bit, and with no offense to you here, and the Dolphins, maybe a little bit of offense to you and the Dolphins, actually, to be honest. If the Dolphins tend to be behind in games, and what we find from teams that like to tank, if you know you've got at least some of the talent in the building, you want to make sure you're at least staying in games, right? The scores aren't demoralizing by the end of the game. But if other teams are able to kind of run away a little bit from the Dolphins early in the game, do you reckon that with some of that upside in being able to at least start being able to sling the ball a little bit in the fourth quarter, make up some, and yeah, stat pad is probably the correct term.
Yeah, you're talking the juicy garbage time fantasy points. I do think there's a hell of a chance of that with the Finns this year. I don't know how bad we're going to be. I mean, obviously it's doom and gloom right now, but the thing last year, even when they weren't winning games, they sort of never gave up in games. So there will be a bit of that for him this year, where he can sort of like maybe coming into the end of the third quarter, his stats aren't great, but a late touchdown or two could like certainly get him up to like around about the 18 to 20 points in a game. It definitely could happen with the Finns this year.
Yeah. Kane, who are you looking at? Who's a quarterback that you think has, I guess, won
Yeah.
from free
I'm
agency
glad.
this year?
To be fair, I'm glad Liam went with his own guy Malik there because I thought it was going to go with the easy answer, which is Kyler Murray, which I'll do. Don't worry, I'll take the easy answer. But I think in terms of kind of going off the people we're going to be speaking about today, I think Kyler Murray is maybe the biggest winner for fantasy football. Out of all the moves I've seen this offseason, just before kind of go too much into fantasy, it's kind of a win-win for the Vikings. They're not got to pay him much. You get a former number one overall pick. But for Kyler, I think he's under Kevin O'Connell, who's revived the careers of quarterbacks before. He's done it with Darnold. Well, we know he was with Daniel Jones. I know he didn't play really for the Vikings, but I think automatically you need to look at the fact that I know Kyler has kind of been injured. Well, I've got it here. In 2021, he's missed 5 games. 22, he's tore his ACL. 23, he was recovering from the ACL. And then in 2024, he played 17. Last year, we only got 5 games from him. So kind of there is an injury risk with him. But when he is healthy, he's dual threat. He's great on the floor. He's good with his arm. I also think he's got the best supporting cast he's ever had. He's got Justin Jefferson. Also, I think the move's great for Jefferson as well. Jefferson has an upgrade at quarterback. It's not got JJ McCarthy throwing him the ball anymore. In terms of, I don't like kind of similar to Malik Willis. I don't think Kyler's going to be a Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, or Lamar Jackson for fantasy. Absolutely not. But he could kind of be in the best of the rest here. He could finish kind of quarterback 8 to quarterback 12. That wouldn't be surprising. In 2020, he finished as a quarterback 3 overall. So he's got top 5 finishes on his resume. So I think kind of it's a win-win really. Like he's not going to go too high in drafts. He might go a little bit higher in super flex leagues, obviously, as you need your 2 quarterbacks. But overall, it's a win-win for me.
Yeah, I've been a Kyler Murray lover, and I attached myself to that wagon very, very early on in his career. And at this point, I'm not allowed to let it go because you just attach yourself to that horse just a bit too much. So I hope you're right. But also, as a Michigan fan, I kind of can't afford for JJ McCarthy not to succeed in the league. So it's not a great time to be me. What were you going to say there, Liam? Sorry.
I was just going to ask about JJ. Do you reckon they've given up on JJ McCarthy now, or do you reckon there's sort of like they're still edging the bets with him, sticking behind Kyler, take a little bit of pressure off the start of the season, and then still bring him through? Because obviously Kyler will want to be paid next year, and if he starts all 17 games this year, he plays every game this year, then and gets them to the playoffs, he will want to be paid well.
Paid
So do you think the Vikings are giving up on JJ, or do you think he's got a chance?
No, absolutely not. I think kind of he still has got a chance. Whether that does kind of, if that does come true for him and he does kind of turn out to be, well, I'm not even going to say league average because he was below average. I know that Fletch ain't going to want to hear that. He was below average last year. It was terrible last year, not even below average. That's me being kind.
Yeah.
But no, like you said, ultimately, it's only a 1-year deal. And kind of, say we're looking at the end of next season, we don't know what's going to happen with Stafford and the Rams. The Rams might be needing a quarterback. Kind of, if Kyler has a good season, someone will pay him. So it's kind of one of the Vikings willing to match it. Obviously, with Sam Darnold, I know he kind of wanted guarantees of him being the guy with JJ being drafted anyway. But in terms of we're seeing, but you are willing to let quarterbacks go, and who's to say it'll be different?
Yeah.
That's a good point.
As far as JJ McCarthy goes as well, who else was it they brought through the door? Was it not Carson Wentz? Was it Carson Wentz?
Carson Wentz is back in, yeah.
Yeah, he is back in, yeah.
So do you not reckon with JJ McCarthy then bringing in Kyler Murray and then bringing in the next that another option at quarterback kind of does put that nail in the coffin for him maybe a little bit?
I think some of these could look a little bit different. If they paid Kyler a 2-year, I don't know, 45 million deal, then I think absolutely he's dead and buried. Because there's 2 quarterbacks, and we're going to talk about one more in a minute, who've had these league minimum deals. It's kind of too good for these teams to turn down. So it doesn't necessarily kill off JJ, but My point on Kyler is like if he's the starter week one, there's no guarantee by week 10, 15, they're not going to have gone back into JJ McCarthy.
Yeah.
So from a fantasy point of view, I think if he does start week one and he starts week one with a bit of a bang, I'd be looking to sort of edge my bets and move him out for someone who's totally buying in. I'd be looking for you in a trade deal, Fletch, and letting you pay over the odds for him.
Yeah, that's a smart idea. I can't even hate you for it. Any other QB stood out for you? I'll ask you on Kirk Cousins. Obviously, the Raiders have the number one pick in the draft. We all know what's going to happen there. They're gonna go with a safe no, they're gonna go with Fernando Mendoza.
Yeah.
The likelihood being though, do you reckon Fernando Mendoza starts day one? Or are they going to do the smart thing? Now, bear in mind, this is the Raiders, so probably not. But are they going to do the smart thing, sit Fernando Mendoza, and Kirk Cousins can benefit from being in a new place with weapons at the end of the day? The Raiders have weapons. They've got Brock Bowers um, and see Kirk Cousins maybe take a bit of a jump. He's never been a top fantasy quarterback, but there will be some upside there for him being in Vegas.
I think Kirk starts week one, and I think he plays most of the season. To be honest, um, I would say I would say it's a good move for him. I think he puts himself in the shop window again to say next year let Mendoza go in and put me back on free agency. I think they've structured the deal in that way as well. That basically they'll have to
Yeah.
pay him a lot of money if he's still there. And the only reason he'd still be there is if he has a great season. So either way, he's put himself in a real good position to sort of become a
Yeah.
starter again. And I do think he can be. You look at some of the quarterbacks in the NFL at the moment, there's no reason why Kirk Cousins couldn't play for another 2, 3 years. And I
No.
think it's a great
Yeah.
move for him. I think all the quarterbacks we're going to talk today, I think the best that we could expect from is a mid-tier QB2. I don't think anyone's going to break
Yeah.
into QB1. They might have the
Yeah.
odd week here and there, but I don't think any of them's going to do that. So there's no like real movers and shakers in this
Yeah.
QB moves. But Kirk Cousins, yeah, like I really like this move for him. I think he's very clever. He's going to be a great role model for Mendoza, and he's going to put himself in the window. He's got some decent weapons to utilize, and I think he puts himself back in the window to go and get a starting job next year for a couple of seasons.
No,
Well,
100%. I'm with you on that one, mate. In terms of, I remember when I got the notification on my phone and I seen the contract Dudley do before you actually looking. I thought that's a lot of money for Kirk Cousins, like over 5 years. But ultimately, like you said, he would have had other options to go somewhere and be a backup. So I think part of it is he's going to Las Vegas knowing that there is going to be a playing opportunity. It's great for Mendoza to learn off someone who's been in the league for a decade plus now as
yeah.
well. Because he could have gone to the Rams to back up Stafford or whatever. But like you said, he's gone down. He knows he's going to be able to play. For fantasy, like Liam said, it's not really a needle mover, but you could say the same about any of these quarterbacks. But you never know. Like I said, if you're in a deep league or something and you need a hero one week, it might be Kirk Cousins.
In
Yeah.
Dynasty as well, it puts a little bit more value on him again. Like you could maybe move him, or he could be your third choice there. That probably was a bit dead and
Yeah.
buried. I'm excited for Brock Bowers though. He's finally got a decent quarterback throwing the ball. Like
Quarterback.
his season could be amazing.
And if that quarterback goes down, he's got another quarterback that'd be decent
Exactly.
to back him up.
Mm.
Whatever way they put it, you've got someone decent throwing to you. Um,
Absolutely.
I think the other question around a quarterback could go round to her. I think that's the obvious one. Other one that I guess probably needs a mention. We're going into well, obviously Kirk Cousins is now out of the building of Atlanta. You've got Michael Penix Jr., who look. Injury concerns, injury issues. They plagued him in college. Um, our resident Falcons fan on the network, he was not happy with that pick at 8 overall. And you start to see why. I did obviously watch him in the national championship game a couple of years ago when he won that one. Oh yeah, Michigan. When they won the national championship. But he's a tough dude, but injuries are a concern with him. So Tua, whether he gets a starting job week one or not, I don't know yet, but there will be real opportunities for him to start. But again, in a place with weapons where we'll have Bijan, where we'll have Drake London, where we'll have a lot of different assets that he can throw the ball to. Maybe he's not a QB1, but is the serious upside as a QB2 here.
Mm. I think so. I mean, I was thinking about this while I was on the drive home from work today, and I was just wondering about it, and it made me think about both lefties. are the Falcons trying to make sure whoever starts, if one of them goes down with injury, because Tua's had his injury concerns as well,
Hmm.
that at least they don't have to totally change their style of play. But I don't know who's the starter here. I would if I was a Falcons fan, I'd probably think it's Penix starting and Tua's there as a backup in case Penix fails. But again, I think it's quite a smart move from the new head coach to sort of bring in somebody who can keep the same system. Um, so I think either way, it's an upside for Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and Bijan Robinson. But for the QBs, I personally
Yeah.
wouldn't want either on my team. I've got two in a few dynasty leagues, and it doesn't harm having him go here. He's definitely got an opportunity to be the starter. But yeah, again, not a needle mover. A QB2 at best, but I think he probably starts as the backup and waits for his opportunity.
What do you reckon, kid?
No, no, I'm with you on that one. In terms of, like you said, it's kind of there's no risk to it. It's a minimum deal, but kind of like you mentioned, I think to say Michael Penix has injury concerns is an understatement. Like I said, he's got zero working knees. But like you said, there's no way but both of them will be playing football this year. We're going to see both of them
Yeah.
play. And like you mentioned, they're both left-handed, so it's kind of not too much of a system change. I remember watching an interview before the Berlin game when the Falcons played the Colts, and obviously the Drake London's kind of what's it like catching the ball from a left-handed quarterback. And he said it takes some time to get used to. So I suppose if one of them misses time, it's going to be no difference. And I think obviously when you have got an elite wide receiver like Drake London in the building as well, it is going to help. You've got a great tight end in Kyle Pitts. You've got the
Yeah.
player who's probably going to be the best player for fantasy this year, and Bijan Robinson. So I don't think, like I said, it doesn't necessarily mean Tua is going to be great to have for fantasy. But like I said, if you do have him in some dynasty leagues or in some deeper leagues, there's no harm in rostering him anyway.
Yeah, and it'll be one of those. I think you see the second Penix goes out of any game in the fourth, he picks up on an injury report. You'll see all of a sudden the number one trending person on Sleeper will probably be Tua, because why risk it? It's just someone you can throw. There'll be similar plug and play. And I absolutely agree. Now we've got to move on to some running. Any other quarterbacks stand out, by the way, before we move on to running backs?
Not that I've seen, no.
Not
Nope.
that I can think of.
Okay. Kieran, you can get us started on this one. Any
Right.
running backs that jump off the board to you?
Yeah, it's funny. The one I like the most actually is Rashad White going to Washington. I think ultimately it's great for him. I'm not too sure what you two both think on. I'm not sure if to call him Jacroy or Bill Krosky Merritt. I call him Bill. I think everyone calls him Bill, don't they? I'm not sure what everyone thinks on Bill Krosky Merritt or Chris Rodriguez, but I don't think either of them are that good. I think obviously with Bill, we got a lot of hype before the season because we've seen him take all these snaps in training camp. Obviously, it was a late draft pick. But in terms of with Rashad White, I think we kind of forget how good he is due to the fact that Bucky Irvin was obviously was the lead back in Tampa, sorry. And with Rashad White, he has got a running back 4 finish on his resume as well. I think he's an elite receiving back, and he is kind of the best guy in that room now. He'll benefit from playing with Jaden Daniels. They'll both be good in the run game with the handoffs. So yeah, in terms of it's probably not the best when it comes to, like you said, Bill Krosky Merritt's fantasy value or Chris Rodriguez's value if you hold them in dynasty or deeper leagues. But yeah, for Rashad White, I really like it.
Yeah, but about you, Liam? Anyone stand out to you?
Yeah, that's a good shout on Rashad White. I think he'll go under the radar in a lot of drafts, and he could well be the RB1 there. So I think it's a great shout. I'm going to take the low hanging fruit, and I'm just going to take Ken Walker. Like, is this not the best deal of free agency of anybody? I mean, some of the wide receivers have got some pretty money, but Ken Walker going to the Chiefs, Jesus Christ, that's exciting. I genuinely think, and I'm either gonna look great or sound stupid here, and I'm hoping for the first one. I think he could be knocking on the door of the top 5 running back in fantasy football this season. And I think he's got all the skills and everything that you need in a running back. He showed it in the playoffs. He showed it once Zach Charbonnet was injured. He took over and he give him the ball a lot, let him build himself up in a game, and he showed everything he can offer. Super Bowl MVP. So he's showing in the top games just what he can do, and I'm so excited for this guy in fantasy football. I want him everywhere. I want people to be out on him, and I'll be picking him up. I think he could be absolutely fantastic this year. Only downside could be injuries. He has had them, but I think last year he was fit the whole season, and I think he'll benefit from the fact that the Seattle Seahawks have done a sort of a split backfield for a couple of years, so therefore the workload's not been all him. So I'm well in on him. This is the winner of fantasy for fantasy for me with this free agency move.
Yeah, I like the both of you. We've only been going for a couple, what's episode 2 now for the new crew, and you're already just working together. You set up and took one so Kane could walk away with the home run hitter on the quarterbacks, and then you return the favour, Kane,
I
and let
know,
Liam
thank
run
you,
away with
mate.
the home run on the running backs. I love it. Like I've got to ask for reasons unbeknown to anyone else. I don't know why I feel like this name needs to be brought up, but Isaiah Pacheco, who ended up at the Detroit Lions of all places, obviously going to replace David Montgomery, whom was spoke about at length. I say like well a good amount last week on the
Yeah.
pod between yourselves and Sam. I'm asking for selfish reasons, obviously. How do you see someone like Isaiah Pacheco fitting in where potentially would Gibbs be running away with a lot of the snaps and maybe getting more in the passing game? How would you see someone like Pacheco falling? And yeah, I'll just stick with that.
Obviously, taking the Lions bias aside, I really don't think much of it in terms of for fantasy or in real life. I think it's quite disrespectful to David Montgomery to say Isaiah Pacheco is his replacement because I think there's such a big gulf in class just between them two. Like the gap between Monty and Gibbs is big. The gap between Pacheco and Monty is even bigger. In terms of, like you said, in terms of like with Tua, if Penix went out, Tua would be the number one player trending on the waiver wire. Same with Gibbs and Pacheco. I can't see him being too impactful. My worry is maybe against goal line touches or third down touches,
Yeah,
which takes away from Gibbs's game. But he's not a huge threat in the receiving game either. It's kind of, I think, if anything, the real winner from this move is Jameer Gibbs.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's entirely fair. I think I would have thought the same if we'd have kept Jamal Williams. Obviously, Jameer Gibbs and Dave Montgomery kind of came in together. We drafted Jameer Gibbs and brought David Montgomery in the
Brought
same
him
off
on
season.
yeah.
But I would have felt the same if Jameer Gibbs and Jamal Williams were in play. Jamal Williams, all he ever did was punch it in from the one. Broke Barry Sanders' record. It's like breaking the Premier League goal scoring record, and all you score is tap-ins. Like, that is it. A
It's
goal is a
Haaland for you,
goal.
then, mate. Yeah.
A goal's a goal. Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. To be fair, a goal's a goal, but also just tap-ins at the end of the day. So I think it's absolutely fair with that one. Um,
I
would you say you feel similarly, Liam, or you got a
pretty
rebuttal to that
pretty
one?
much, pretty much. The only thing I will say is that I think it's smart business from the Lions. I think that what they're doing is going to see can he, a couple of years removed from his leg break, can he find that form that he had as the
Yeah.
Chiefs? Because he was a powerful runner. He's sort of like it was a bit like almost cartoon like running. He just sort of like a bit like Fred Flintstone. He's just heavy footed and just going like the crackers. And I think it's a smart move from the Lions. I personally don't think it's going to pay off. But if it does, I mean, they've got him for next to nothing. He can sit behind the arguably the best or the second best running back in the game, and he can just like he can sort of like replenish his stocks and sort of make himself look good. I think it's great business from the Lions. Fantasy wise, I wouldn't be touching him personally, but there will
Yeah.
be a few people interested in can he play the Monty role, and that has always been a reasonable role in fantasy football.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Any other running backs jump off the board to you here in terms of the moves that they've made in the off season?
Travis Etienne. I think
Hang
it's
on,
a
hang on, hang on. We need to do it right. I've pulled up everyone else on it this week.
Oh, well, the
It's only
pronunciation.
fair. Achan. It is Travis Achan.
yeah. What's all
Achan.
I've heard? What's all that about?
Oh, well, it's a French name. So as you would generally pronounce it, rather than it being Etienne, it'd be HN. Like so on and so forth. So he's corrected people on it. I'm doing my job as a producer here and just saying that's the pronunciation of the name.
So what do we call
Funny
Devon
story.
Achan? What do we call him
That's
then?
what.
Is it Devon Etienne?
As far as I'm aware, he's not correcting anyone on the pronunciation of his name. But once we do, I will be cracking that whip in the on the network as well. So yeah, it's Achan apparently now.
Achan. Okay, I'll try
Yeah,
again then.
I think I'll stick with Etienne. Similar to that, I think when I first got into it, funny story, my little sister is called Etienne. So I've always seen it. Oh, his name was Travis Etienne, and when I got into it, I thought, oh, no, it was Travis Etienne, and now it's Devon Achan apparently. So I think I'll stick with Travis Etienne.
Either way, I do think it's a
anyway,
great move for him. I do think it's a good move. Like he's come off his one of his best seasons he's had in his career last season. He looked brilliant. He looked like he had a lot of power in his legs. He looked like he had a lot of energy. He never like in other seasons he's had a really good start and he's dipped off. This last
yeah,
season he looked brilliant all the way through. He was back catching the ball, which is one of his skill sets when he came into the NFL. He had 1,100 yards on the ground, 300 more in the air, so 1,400 yards. You can't complain with that from your running back and 13 touchdowns. And I think that's probably his like base level going into the working for the Saints. Kellen Moore's a really good offensive-minded head coach. I think I'm putting it out there. I think he's like a light version of Alvin Kamara. Like he won't be able to get to the heights that Kamara did, but he's got a lot of the same skill sets, and the Saints will probably utilize him in a
especially in the receiving game.
Yeah, I can see the receiving work going up, and I think he's going to be, for me, it's a definite running back one this season. He could possibly get into the top 8, but I don't think he can break top 5, but certainly can see him in around that 8 to 12 mark. I think it's a great move for him, and it's 4 years and quite a good amount of money as well, so he'll be happy there. He's not going to be looking for his next deal, so good move, I think, this one.
Yeah. Do you reckon it signals the kind of ending of Alvin Kamara is on its way?
Sadly, yeah.
Yeah. I think even before, I know Kamara's kind of missed a little bit of time last year, and we're seeing Kendra, is it Kendra Miller, is it how you pronounce it? Obviously, I know he went down injured as well, but I was going to pose that question to you both in terms of how do you think it does affect Alvin Kamara's value? And I think more importantly, how does it affect Bashal Tutin's value in Jacksonville? Now kind of that's his backfield.
Starting with Kamara, I think I wouldn't actually be surprised if he was a casualty this offseason. I wouldn't be surprised if he got a trade or something.
Yeah.
The interesting one for me, I wonder if they'll do it sort of like a bit like what Bashal Tutin's style of play is. They've got Audric Estime.
Estime, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely nailed that first name there. They've got him who's a big, hard, heavy runner. So, I think they could use that as a 1-2 punch. You could get Travis Etienne doing the bulk of the work and Estime sort of knocking it in on the 1 yard line. But Tutin, I mean, exciting for him. I can't imagine that the Jags don't bring somebody else in. They did bring Rodriguez in, who you mentioned earlier, actually from
the Commanders. Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't go and draft somebody maybe round 3-4 in this
later in the draft.
Yeah.
Do you reckon New Orleans Saints take a punt at Jeremiah Love if he falls to 9? 8 even?
Not after that deal, I don't think.
I think it would maybe be similar to kind of what the deal when the Lions went and got Jameer. I know, like you said, you'd literally brought in Monty about off-season, or even similar to when the Falcons obviously literally just had Tyler Algier, who we'll speak about in a little bit, have a 1,000-yard season, and when they went and drafted Bijan. I think when someone of that quality is there, unless you kind of think, I don't know, maybe a Sonny Styles falls as well, it might be a better fit with them losing Demario Davis. Like, who knows? I think if a player that good is there, you just have to take them.
Yeah.
And you make everything else works itself out, don't it?
Yeah. Mrs. Fletch, by the way, if anyone listens to Heard on the Line, Mrs. Fletch is a massive Saints fan. And she had to pass on a note to me to read out on the thing saying that Alvin Kamara is her favourite player. So, and even she's in the go get Jeremiah Love kind of training, like go get the guys that's going to replace him. But we'll see. As far as other running backs goes, who else has jumped off the page?
What I will,
Algier. You said you were going to mention Algier.
Yeah, I was going to say. I know I just mentioned Tyler Algier there, but I think in the immediate, this is a big win for fantasy because I think one, Tyler Algier is kind of very talented, and two, if you are Bijan, no, you've not got to worry about Hawk and Bijan's touchdowns anymore. But in terms of him going to the Cardinals, I think it's not. There's no way it can really go wrong because you've got James Conner's just came off a huge we don't even know what James Conner's going to look like, to be honest with you. He came off a massive injury, and Trey Benson missed a lot of time as well last year. Kind of going into the season, he probably is going to be the running back one. It's shown when he has been the running back one. Like I said, he had a 1,000-yard year in his rookie year. He is talented, and I think it's worth the risk. I think there might be a fear of. I was going to mention it with Ken Walker as well, with some of these running backs maybe getting overdrafted in draft leagues and getting drafted too high, because I think with Ken Walker, like you mentioned, he has got injury concerns, and I've seen mocks of him going in round 1. I personally wouldn't go near him in round 1, but maybe same with Tyler Algier, might see him go kind of round 6, round 7 if people buy into the hype, and he might not be worth that, but yeah.
You've got to think
Yeah,
with Algier that he's going into a running back room that is like they basically were a physiotherapist nightmare last
Yeah,
year. Like James Conner was out for most of the season, Trey Benson was out most of the season. They were playing Demarcado until he decided
and
to drop the ball on the 1 yard line, and then he
yeah,
was
and
binned. And then Michael Carter, and then
yeah,
it was
Bam Knight,
Bam Knight. So I mean,
Bam Knight, yeah,
he's got into that room, and you've got to think like if he stays fit and healthy, which he's got a history of being fit and healthy,
yeah,
he could be walking away with it like being the number one running back in a good offense that likes to run the ball very quickly. And I do think he could be a very like again a bit of a shrewd pick in your redraft leagues, and also go and try and get him in dynasty leagues because I don't suppose the manager right now is wanting much more than a late second for him. So go and try and get him.
yeah. And you think as well though with that Cardinals team, despite all the injuries, it was still one of the few parts of the offense that actually produced something last year. It's one
yeah,
of the reasons that I'm really excited for Drew Pets in Detroit
Yeah.
because he got something out of that run game, and now you're giving him Jameer Gibbs. You idiots, NFL. All NFL teams are idiots. But you make a very good point there. I actually want to bring this back up about Kenneth Walker in how he will be drafted. He's come fresh off the MVP in the Super Bowl. He
yeah,
goes to the Chiefs. I put out one of the clips last week of, to be fair, in the clip it was Liam and Sam at the time on social media calling. You want to talk kind of just a bit about fantasy full of gold, right? Some of the players that are
yeah.
full of gold. That kind of concoction screams fantasy fool's gold, as you've said. Like you've got guys taking him in the first round, and you're not going to touch him near there.
Yeah, exactly.
How often do you see guys like that? That just seems to me like a perfect concoction for fool's gold.
Yeah. It could be like, and again, if you're doing a draft and like a redraft league, like even though I'm a huge fan of him, there's nowhere near does he go in the first.
No,
Like it would be even like a one quarterback league, which again it's wide receivers and running backs round one. He's at best probably mid second round, and in the super flex leagues, I'd probably push that to probably third, maybe mid to the end of the third would be where I'd look to get him. He's and like he could be one of these that like he could be a huge value if he goes the 10th running back off the clock off the board. But if he's going like the fourth, fifth, sixth running back off the board, then the value's gone because I think that's his top level anyway.
Yeah,
So yeah, he could make a lot of people look daft. And like obviously, even though I'm a massive fan of the move, and I think if you've got him in dynasty leagues, then you're rubbing your hands together.
yeah,
But in redraft, if people do get on that hype wagon, then I'm just gonna let them do it. I'm just gonna like go like you enjoy that, you have that. He will perform for you, but I'm not paying like I don't know, running back five price for him when
yeah,
Devon
yeah,
Achan could be there, and like you
that's what
take
I
Devon
was just
Achan.
gonna say. Kind of, I'll probably like ask you both the question. Then, in terms of if you're saying you're in a redraft league, it's one quarterback, two running back, normal
yeah,
format, and you've got the option out of a Devon Achan, a Saquon Barkley, or a Kenneth Walker. In kind of what order do you kind of value those guys, and kind of just kind of where do you have Ken Walker amongst that group? Because if let's say obviously Jameer, B. John, CMC are the obvious guys, but then you've got like you said, you've got
yeah.
Ken Walker, Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, even like where do you kind of value him amongst them?
Liam, do you want to take this first?
Yeah, if you're gonna go those three specifically, I'd obviously go Achan first. I think he's like dual threat. He literally is a running back who catches the ball probably more
Wide
than he
receiver.
runs the ball. Yeah, Saquon's a funny one. He had an awful year for his standards last year, but again, he's in a what should be a rebounding offense. I'd probably
Yeah,
put Ken Walker slightly above him, but I'll put a few. There's a few more names in there that sort of muddies the water. Johnny Taylor's one of them. But it like
yeah,
I would go him ahead of Ken Walker. Ashton Genty, it's year
yeah.
two in a much better offense. Marion Hampton now fit. Like
That's
these are all the
my guy
names
for
that you
this
like.
year.
You're sort of in and around Ken Walker, and like
Mhm,
yeah, there's a little bit of unknown with Hampton, sort of, because he didn't really play a lot last year. So he's
mhm.
probably level with Ken Walker. So that's the toss up. But even if you're on a redraft league, even Derrick Henry, he might be 30
Yeah,
odd years old
he's
now.
always good. He's always good for 12
Still
touchdowns. I
performs.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it is a great question. Like, and people will, yeah, you can get on that hype train and you can make some bad decisions in round one and round two in your redraft leagues.
yeah. I'm tempted. The ever optimist in me is tempted to take Saquon first because I think Saquon last year was let down by you know say Kellen Moore leaving,
Mm.
by the fact that they just couldn't get that offense. Like there was just that. I mean, we all knew it throughout the whole season. The offense was just off,
Mm.
and
It
there was
was
something
horrible.
just not right. They've come off a Super Bowl win. Obviously, so you lose a lot of the talent in terms of coaching as well, but you just lose something. You lost the spark. AJ Brown stuff was going on. I think if you put him in back into an offense that's a bit more stable, that has an actual identity to it, similar to 2024, maybe they don't reach the Super Bowl, but fantasy football is not still going on by the time it gets to
Yeah,
the
of
Super
course.
Bowl. That regular season, you'd kind of think Saquon Barkley's always going to be good for what? At least 1.5, 1.3K yards, at
Yeah,
least 10 touchdowns, at least, he's going to be good for what. I think you're
yeah,
absolutely right, though, as far as Devon Achane goes, he's going to be the primary, if alongside Malik Willis, he's gonna be the guy that the Dolphins lean on
yeah.
all year. He's gonna pick the ball up a lot. He's gonna get targets a lot. So I'd probably actually be, if I was going off what will probably be the case, it'd be Devon Achane first, Saquon Barkley second. Other way round though, if the Eagles can get their ish together on the offense,
Yeah.
as far as a couple of years went by. So as far as that Super Bowl winning season went. Any others that's again jump off the board to you here? I've got a question off Sam as we end the running back talk.
Yeah, I've got one more I kind of want to talk about. But I'm kind of interested in your opinions on him as well, because and it's Rico Dowdle when he's moved to the Steelers from the Panthers. I've got some interesting facts. So he's like, and I don't know if you guys have seen this, but he's back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, which
Yeah,
like people would have not put that money on the last two seasons. He both going to both of them seasons, he was the backup. So back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. He had last year some elite performances, mainly against the Dolphins, the Cowboys, and the
Yeah.
Packers. So two,
I got him on the waivers last year. Honestly, best thing I've done
oh
all year.
yeah,
Made my year, mate.
unbelievable. Like I think he got 200 yards in both the Dolphins and the Packers game, and I think the Dolphins and the Cowboys game, and the Packers it was like 150 and a couple of touchdowns or something like that.
Yeah,
So I mean, from that point of view, like I think he's shown elite levels, not just good, elite levels. To get 200 yards on back-to-back games, 200 all scrimmage yards on back-to-back games, and then to follow it up like two games later with like 150 and two, that's elite levels. That's like your prime Adrian Peterson was doing little runs of that. So I think he's a hell of a back. He dropped right off last year though, and I don't know what that was. I don't know. They wanted to get Tuba back involved, and I
Tuba
don't know whether
back
it was
in. Yeah,
because they knew that Tuba was going to be the running back this year and they weren't going to keep Rico, maybe keep him happier. I don't know. I don't know what it was, but there certainly was a split between his carries from the Packers game onwards. The sort of dropped down. Yes, his yards per carries dropped, but he's the sort of running back who needs to have 15 to 20 touches to really get the rhythm
yeah,
of the game and get going. And once he does, he's unstoppable. So I
yeah,
really like this move. I think he could take over the backfield at the Steelers. I think Jalen Warren, he's a bit of a. I'm a bit meh on him. I think he's a bit
yeah. It's really
wishy-washy.
hit and miss. Yeah,
Yeah, and Caleb Johnson's got a lot of work to do to get back in the good books there anyway, even though it's a new head coach. So, like, I really like the move for Rico, and I think it's yet another team he can go to, and yet another opportunity where he can come out as a running back one. And I'd be putting money on him doing another 1,000-yard season as long as he can
yeah.
yeah.
get 230 carries, 230 to 250 carries. So yeah, I like this move.
What do you reckon, Kiarn?
No, I'm the same. I like it. Like I said, I think Rico ultimately is really talented, and I think I think the Steelers only got him. I think it's 12 million average annual value, which is when you look at the Ken Walker contract, that is such a good price considering the production he has put up. Like you said, multiple 1,000-yard seasons. I am a little bit worried in terms of how the split with Jalen Warren works. Again, I'm not the biggest Jalen Warren fan, but I do think he's okay in the receiving game and. Well, I think for times last year, even kind of Gainwell was outperforming Jalen Warren. I know he's away to Tampa now, but yeah, in terms of I like it as well. I think Tube is obviously kind of his value increases with it. And I'll
Yeah,
ask you, Fletch. Obviously, you're more tapped into college than I am. Obviously, Jonathan Brooks is still in that Panthers running back room, and it was really talented coming out of college. Obviously, he suffered two
yeah.
major injuries in his 2 years in the league, so maybe it's time for him.
Yeah, I must say, Jonathan Brooks is just not on my radar whatsoever. He'll be at best a backup for Chuba. He's
Yeah.
not anyone. I think no disrespect to him. He seems like a lovely person, and I don't mean this in any personal way whatsoever. It's just not worth talking about as far as
Yeah.
Jonathan Brooks goes. Jalen Warren, I stand by you. I am not a massive Jalen Warren lover. That's what last year was his best year, 958 yards. Both of them, to be fair, I will give them the dues. Is like 4.6 yards a carry for Rico Dowdle. Like 4.6 yards a carry is solid production. Rico Dowdle was only a bit behind at 4.5 yards per carry. But obviously, like I say, he was splitting some of those reps. I expect Rico Dowdle to walk in and take over that spot very relatively quickly. And you say about the contract, it was 2 years, 12 point.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're getting for an average value of
Yeah.
what, just over 6 million
Just over 6.
in a
Sorry. Yeah.
year? Like it's cheap as chips. Well,
Mm.
cheap as chips as far as NFL contracts goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not paying £6 million for chips. That's a lot of money for
You
chips.
might do it. You might do it in London these days.
Tell you, you're not wrong, to be fair. But you won't eat gravy with it either. How depressing. Um, but no, I don't expect. I expect Rico Dowdle to walk in and pretty much take that spot, and then I want him to go to a place where he can truly be the number one,
Yeah.
and be given that option. Because like you say, he was smashing it for the Panthers last year at one point, and then just kind of form dipped a little bit, but they just immediately brought Hubbard straight back into it, let him go through those motions, let him have a full season of being an RB1 somewhere. It'd be interesting to see the way that battle goes. Ken, I want to give you the opportunity to do one more running back if there is one, before I drop this question from Sam your way.
I've not. That's why I left it. My running back. The last one I wrote
No,
about was Rico as well.
no worries. Okay, so Sam's question for you both is which three free agency signings went to finish so it went on to finish as the overall RB5 or better in fantasy football in the same season they changed teams, non-PPR.
Saquon Barkley, obviously, the first year he was in Philadelphia, I'd imagine. I think he was the running back one that year.
Yeah, yes, he was. Well done.
Derek Henry, one of them as well, his first year in Baltimore.
Derek Cameron was
Baltimore.
not.
No.
He's not. Josh Jacobs, would he have squeezed into the top 5? No, I didn't. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Can you give us a year?
2023 and 2016.
2023.
2023.
Trying to think, 23. And there was a top 5 running back, yeah.
One of them even was.
Yeah.
One of them was top 2.
23, 23.
And 2023 top 2.
Because the
He was
CMC was traded, weren't he? He
Yeah,
weren't off season. Yeah. Running back 2. What was the team he played for before he went to his current team? Or did that make it too easy?
Oh, you're asking me too many questions now. Sam has not provided me with this information, and I can't just be expected to know things.
You shouldn't understand.
Before he was traded to the team he ended up at and got this, he was at the 49ers, but he bounced around the league quite a bit. He was with the 49ers for a while though.
Are they actually good? Yeah.
Is it Raheem Mostert?
It is Raheem Mostert. Well done,
Good shout.
2023.
Great shout.
And then there's
Who was
one
it
more.
with?
You should know that as a Dolphins fan.
Was it with the Finns that he did that with, running back 2?
Running back
God,
to
it feels
the
like
year we got
it feels
yeah,
so long ago. And the other one in
yeah, just a bit.
2016.
The other one was 2016, and yeah,
It's not. Did we mention? It's not the guy we mentioned last week. Or was he traded? It wasn't Kenyon Drake. No, he was traded, wasn't he? 2016.
not. He played for the Eagles beforehand, and the Cowboys before that.
not a Scooby Doo, mate. Honestly.
Eagles and Cowboys. I want to get this now. This podcast might go on for a few hours. Eagles
See you in
and
the morning.
Cowboys.
Yeah, he was drafted by the Cowboys, moved to the Eagles, and then moved to one more team where he ended up RB5 in his first year of the team.
I'm gonna put it out there. It's not J, is it?
It's not Jay, unfortunately, because he
'Cause
played
he
for the
did have
Dolphins as well.
Yeah, he did it well. Yeah, he did have a couple of good seasons. I don't know. I don't know this one. I'll probably kick myself, but
DeMarco Murray
Marco Murray, yeah.
Uh,
At
went
the
to the
Titans.
Titans.
Yeah.
Spent 2 years at the Titans. Well, spent one more season after that at the Titans. Now the Kansas City Chiefs running back coach.
Yeah. He went around the
Um,
league after that, I think.
yeah, I mean he's been a bit here and there. So yeah, those are the three free agency signings that went on to finish as the overall RB5 or better in fantasy football. The same season they changed teams non-PPR with DeMarco Murray in 2016, Saquon Barkley in 2024, and Raheem Mostert in 2023. Um, Moving on to what was the next positions? Oh, tight ends and receivers.
There's a lot less to talk about with this, I think.
yeah,
I'll
a
let you go
bit.
first, Kian.
Yeah, Joe, I'll start with receiver, then I'll go with my personal favorite one, which is Wanda Robinson going to the Titans. Another thing, I think he's really underrated. I think he's one of like he's really talented. He's really fun to watch. And bear in mind, last year he just came off a 93 catch year for 100 and just he's gone over 1,000 yards. So he's now linked back up with Brian Daboll, who's the new OC in Tennessee. I think kind of the role is that he is going to be the wide receiver one. The only concern I have got, I was reading some reports that not Carolina, so Tennessee might be looking at wide receiver a bit later in the draft. I think I've seen Ted Hurst and Bryce Lance thrown about. I don't know too much about them, but kind of might be bringing in competition for him. But yeah, I think obviously as well, he's a smaller slot receiver as well. And with obviously, I'm sure we'll speak about him in a bit. Chiga Conquo's gone to the Commanders. That frees up space over the middle. I think Cam Ward's needed like a reassuring, clear number one target, and I think
Yeah,
that's going to be one down.
What do you think he's like top end can be in like certainly fantasy? Because you mentioned he had like 92 and just over 1,000 last year, but the year before he had 93 catches and didn't quite make it to, I mean, I'll call it 700 yards. He had 699.
Yeah,
So there's like he caught one more catch the year before, but had 300 less yards.
yeah.
And
I
it makes
suppose
me
that's the thing. Obviously, is he has been. I don't want to say inconsistent, but I think also the quarterback play in New York. I actually quite like
Mm,
Daniel Jones. Up until last season, wasn't brilliant. Um, and like I said, obviously, Dayball clearly has a plan for him. He trusts them. In terms of ceiling, I don't think he's going to be a wide receiver one, but I think he can be like a very, very high end wide receiver too. I'd feel
yeah,
comfortable having him at my flex or in a wide receiver two position most weeks. Maybe a little bit matchup dependent again, and we have to see how Cam Ward develops as well. But yeah, I really like the upside.
I'm a little bit not as positive about him. Like I just think he could be one of those. We've seen a few receivers like him who sort of like have a good season, get a contract, and
Yeah,
then sort of never really do a lot. Um, I think he'll be good. I think he's solid. Like, and I think he will catch about 90 passes, maybe a bit more
yeah,
if Cam Ward heavily targets him. It's just the value of the catch for me. It might not be that high.
yeah.
And I
yeah,
don't see him as a touchdown kind of guy. Like he hasn't been in his career, and I don't
Correct.
think
Yeah.
that's going to all of a sudden shoot up to a double-digit
I
touchdown
think as
kind of
well,
player.
with him as well. I think if you watch the Giants a lot last year, it can be sometimes like a bit big play dependent. Like we'll see
Mm,
him take a 70-yard touchdown, but hopefully, like you said, with consistent targets, with an offensive coordinator he's worked with previously, I think fingers crossed, he should maybe have the best year of his career. Well, you'd imagine he would anyway.
yeah, they've got some good young receivers there though. It's
Yeah,
just obviously last year they were a very young team, the
yeah,
Titans. Obviously
super young
Cam Ward
team.
second year, Ayamana and DK second years.
Yeah,
Like they could be quite a nice little
yeah. I really
trio of
like Shimano
receivers.
DK to be fair.
Yeah, they could be. It could be quite exciting, and Wandale could then play in this little, like you say, slot role, play
Yeah,
in this mid-yard sort of game, and he's quite hard to get down once he gets going. So, like, you
yeah,
you never know, he could actually be a useful player. I'm a little bit further down in my court. I think he's sort of like a borderline wide receiver two, wide receiver three at best.
yeah.
But yeah, still a useful player to have.
yeah. Um, I think some of that depends on how the Titans go at number 4 in the draft.
I think they'll take Love.
Yeah,
You think they'll take Love? I'm gonna say if they take Love, then you can kind of kiss away a little bit of that Wandale Robinson because Love's gonna start taking some of them targets, and Love's incredible in the passing game as well.
yeah,
So he's going to see some of that attention taken away from your Wandale Robinsons and things like that. If they do the smart thing, which similar to I guess talking about the Raiders doing the smart thing, probably not going to be what they do, and they take an offensive tackle like a Francis Marigoa with that pick at number 4, yeah, they'll keep Cam Ward upright. You'll probably see Wandale Robinson get targets. And for me, it'd be more interesting to see how they go in the draft as to whether I'd be willing to put a lot of stock into a Wandale Robinson.
stock into it. Yeah,
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, you know, these things like we sort of because we talk fantasy, like we want to see Jeremiah Love go. Well, we don't really want to see him to go to the Titans necessarily, but we want to see him
no,
go early. But
yeah,
NFL's a lot different. But I do think new head coach is going to want to go there and go. I get my weapon. I get one of the best running
yeah,
backs that's come out in the last couple of years. Like I get this guy. I get so, and I can see them doing that. But you are absolutely right, Fletch. Like 100%, the best thing to do is to help that young quarterback stay on his feet, make the right decisions, and get the ball downfield. But new head coaches do these things, want nice shiny toys
yeah.
and
yeah,
yeah. So I would prefer them to make those sensible options, but the fans also want to see a sexy option and unfortunately an offensive tackle
Something
is
to be
quite that.
excited about.
I,
Yeah,
I think so. But at the same time, might be where you benefit from having a head coach who's head coached before. It's not his
Yeah.
first year.
yeah,
He's done the go get the he's gone and got the flashy picks. He's got a bit more of an, and you kind of hope he's learned from those mistakes. And he says, right, okay, well, how can I ensure that I have a better time? And let's face, Cam Ward is not a scrub. He's a number 1 overall
Mm.
quarterback.
yeah,
And I was watching him sometimes last year, and obviously still watching sometimes last year. I think, what the hell's going on there? He's a rookie and was put under fire a lot
yeah,
very quickly. But at the same time, you watch some of the things he was capable of, some of those crossbody throws up
yeah.
the field and one of them was for a touchdown. Like, just incredible what he can do if you protect him and don't have him running around like a headless chicken in the backfield.
Yeah.
Who else do you think is again going back to Mike Evans? I think is a name that will stand out to everybody. But the
Mm.
question being, does he stand out for good reasons, fantasy football wise? Are we looking at another 1,000-yard season from him again?
Yeah, I think we are. I'm quite high on this. Like, there's a lot of reasons, and if you think about it, why it might not work or should not work. He's getting older. He's just come off an injury, a big injury through the season. Yes, he did come back at the back end of the season. He's in a brand new team who are notorious for getting a lot of injuries for the players. So how's that gonna pan out? But I think he's going to be like sneaky good this year. Everyone knows what Mike Evans of old could do, but I think he's going to be sneaky good, and I think people are going to like again look past him. They want the nice new shiny toys. They want the younger wide receivers, and I think in fantasy, I can see him being anywhere between like wide receiver 10, which he's shooting for it a little bit, to about wide receiver 24. So somewhere between late wide receiver 1 to wide receiver 2.
Yeah,
And the value you're going to get on Mike Evans, I think that's great. Like because he's not going to go inside the top 24 wide receivers. And also give Brock Purdy a proper receiver to catch the ball. And I think Purdy will have a great season. I think Evans will as well. Like I can really see this being a good move for both the 49ers in real NFL and Mike Evans for fantasy.
yeah,
No, I'm with you on that. Well, I'm not actually. I'll be honest. For fantasy, I'm not 100% sure, but I like it. I think it's. I like. I'm happy to see him in a new kind of situation as well. The big concerns for me are, like you said, one is the age. He's not getting any younger, and he's just come off an injury. But I think more importantly as well is with how that Shanahan offense works. They don't really take many shots downfield, and I think that's where Mike Evans excels. If it's still going to be in the short game, CMC is going to get a lot of work. George Kittle's going to get a lot of work. There's also been a lot of talk about the 49ers going wide receiver at 26. I think they're picking, whether it's like Casey Conception. I think kind of it's one dependent on how that draft goes for the 49ers. And I think in games where they maybe need to take shots downfield, we will see Mike Evans used more. But I just don't. I'm not fully convinced. I think his value would have been better if he was to remain in. Well, if he remained in Tampa rather than the Switch.
I do.
Yeah,
I think what Evans can offer, though, the 49ers are missing currently because they're missing this, like, probably since Debo left, they're missing this big body guy who can catch the ball in the end zone. And
Yeah,
Evans has he's forged a career on that. Like a couple of years ago, he was having two catches, 2 yards, two touchdowns, like literally doing nothing else in the game, but also being effective in those areas. And I think the 49ers are missing that. And even if they do take someone like Casey Concepcion, let him do a different role to Evans. Evans isn't going to
yeah.
compete with these younger players, but he's going to be clever. He's going to put himself in a position where he can win that catch. And I think Brock Purdy's such an underrated quarterback.
It's very underrated.
I think he's phenomenal. And I think give him this guy who can safe pair of hands. Him and CMC will do a lot of the big work, and then some of these younger guys. Because let's be honest, there isn't a lot of competition there. Because Ricky Pearsall's
yeah,
yet to prove what he can do.
Yeah,
Juwan Jennings has just left, so
yeah.
there's only a couple of players there. So I think this could be a great move for both Evans and even if a rookie comes in, it means a rookie can develop with a great mentor.
Experience, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. It's absolutely fair. It could be really interesting to see how, as a bit more, as you mentioned, like maybe they haven't. That's how Shanahan's offense has operated, but maybe it's because they haven't had that option
Yeah.
going downfield and that big deep downfield target. It's going to be fun to watch. What I'm really looking forward to more than anything, and I'm not going to lie because I'm not your typical fantasy football host, so I'm allowed to do my non-fantasy football thing of I just can't wait to see how they fare in Australia. And actually, but fantasy wise as well, like I'm genuinely curious to see how, because that's not your normal. They're kind of
There's
used to
a
coming over to the UK now, to Germany, to wherever. That is a whole different ball game in terms of travel, when they're going to be playing, how they're going to be playing, and all that sort of stuff. Because I think for me, it just comes down to, yeah, it's going to come down to how they perform in Australia and whether the jet lag and however long they're going to be able to spend it, and then the aftermath of it of do those game plans change while they're probably a bit more tired or while they're still
no.
getting, do they hand the ball off a lot more? So is CMC your better option here in terms of fantasy in those first couple of games? I'm interested to see how the game plans change
Yeah.
No, I
and
think that's a
work
fair point.
based on Australia.
Like, like you said, there's a big difference between, say, an 8.5, 9 hour flight to Europe and then flying 23 hours to literally the other side of the planet. And I think it's good that the game's happening week one rather than middle of the season.
Yeah,
That's the last thing you want when you're actually needing it more. But yeah, it will be interesting.
The other one will be what the ground's like because if you remember, not last year, the year before, game in was it Brazil?
Brazil.
The
Yeah,
pitch kept
yeah,
ripping up. The defenders couldn't stop the offensive players because they were just as soon as they'd make a cut, the defenders were on their ass and the defensive player was in. So that was like a massive game for fantasy. I remember what do you call him, Reed for the Packers. He had a huge game because he had like two or three
yeah.
touchdowns, like off four catches or something like that. So, like that also will play into it. What's the ground like? Because you do see some of these European games, especially, be a little bit boring because the pitch isn't quite how it
Yeah,
needs
the
to be.
turn, how they're used to it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's going to be. I'm really interested to see how that ends up working for. Any other wide receivers that stand out to you guys again before we start to look towards, I guess, tight ends as well? Need to bring up tight ends.
Romeo Dobbs is probably the last one worth talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah, moved to the Patriots from the Packers. I think
Yep.
currently, right now, I think like it looks a really good move for him, and it could elevate Dobbs' fantasy value. But I do expect the Pats to trade for somebody in very soon.
Yeah.
AJ Brown caught off.
Yeah, maybe Brian Thomas I've put down as well. Like
Yeah,
I could see them
I
making.
really like Brian Thomas still.
Yeah, I do. So I think Dobbs right now, like it looks great move for him. But I think in reality, when the start of the season comes, I think he becomes a wide receiver two again,
Yeah.
and probably in fantasy that means a wide receiver three or four.
Yeah, and I've always found it very difficult to kind of how to assess that kind of group of Packers receivers with him, Jaden Reed and Christian Watson, because none of them seem better than the next one. Maybe Christian Watson seems the best out of the bunch, but like you don't look at any of them and be like, oh, this is your wide receiver one, or you're comfortable with it being your team's wide receiver one. And like you just said earlier, if someone's a wide receiver two in real life, you might be a wide receiver three, wide receiver, not even a wide, like you said, your wide receiver three, or like a really poor flex option for fantasy.
Yeah. He's also never eclipsed 60 catches and 750
Yeah,
yards to make him
is
your
it
number
60
one.
yards?
60 yards, yeah. So he's never really put the numbers up. So like I mean you want your wide receiver one to be able to break 1,000 yards comfortably, and he's been nowhere near
Yeah,
it. So like yeah, there's a lot of it looks like it's another deal that looks really good at the moment. Like and he got paid a good amount of money, but in reality, probably it could be well, he could be a bit of a misleading for
yeah.
your fantasy teams.
Yeah. Um, as far as tight ends go, I can't really think. I mean, trying to go off the top of my head, even it hasn't been. Well, there aren't really many whirlwind tight end free agents. They
No,
just seem to be players that kind of just stick around. And if they are changing teams, they're not that really good. If they're allowed to hit the free agency market, they're not don't tend
yeah.
to be great. Um, are there any standout tight ends? I mean, you've got David and Joku out there. You've got Johnny Smith. Um, I think to be fair, has David and Joku even been picked up yet?
No, that's what I was going to say. I can't believe he's not been picked up because I really like David and Joko. I thought the Eagles were going to let Dallas Goddard walk and he would have been an Eagle.
Yeah,
But in terms of, like you said, I know it's kind of the layup. It's the easy answer. The only really tight end move that kind of has much fantasy value, so fantasy relevance, is Isaiah likely going to the Giants. It's great for him. Like you said, he actually gets to be the tight end one on his own team. And similar to what we mentioned about how kind of Wandell primarily uses as a slot, Isaiah likely is the same at tight end. He's just a big slot receiver. So I think Jackson Darts can have some throwing to him. And I don't know if I'd ever be comfortable with me like in fact my fantasy tight end one, but I suppose
yeah,
it's as good as you get for tight ends, ain't it? I like it for Mark Andrews. I think Mark Andrews' value goes up a bit as well in Baltimore.
It's an interesting move because like he's obviously gone to where his previous head coach was.
Yeah,
So like I mean, you know the coach likes you. He's brought you straight across. But then like from a fantasy point of view, he's never really like he showed glimpses and he had the odd game here and there, but he's never really done whole lot. He hasn't
too
put a
much.
season
Yeah.
together.
He had
Um,
that. Do you remember he had that season opener? It might have been even last year, and he had a great game, and everyone was jumping on him in the waivers, thinking, "Oh, we've got to
yeah.
pick him up. He's going to take over Mark Andrews," and he just really didn't do it for the rest of the season.
And maybe he gets an opportunity now if he goes in as the tight end one. But again, I
Yeah,
like Theo Johnson. I
I
think
like Theo Johnson.
so. I'm a bit like I personally was a little bit annoyed that this move happened, but I think we've likely you look at him and you look at what he can do, and you go, he should be doing a lot more than he is. So maybe with this fresh start, maybe in an offense, a younger offense, and you're not like the Ravens have been around what Lamar Jackson does and what Derrick Henry does for a
Yeah,
long time. So maybe he's got this opportunity in a new team that's around maybe what Jackson Dart's going to do, and that'll help him. But like, I'm a bit. I think he's got good upside, but in reality,
yeah.
will he get there? Probably not.
Like you said, I think
yeah,
especially with Theo Johnson being on the team, the floor's really, like you said, the ceiling might be quite high, but I think the floor is also still low. Like there's no
Yeah.
guarantee. Like you said, was Theo Johnson only a rookie last year or sophomore even? He's
No,
obviously
second
young in the league.
season.
So yeah, sophomore last year. So like I said, it's not like he's old and washed up. He's still young himself. Like he might
He
be better
also
than Isaiah Likely.
he also had a good connection with Jackson Dart.
Yeah,
Like
he
you can
did.
see that they had this good connection. So, um, yeah, it's kind of like you're going to possibly have two people competing against each other, and neither one being relevant.
Yeah,
I actually prefer the only other guy that I think is worth mentioning. That's Chigakonkwo going to the
yeah,
Commanders. I know you mentioned it earlier, Key, and I actually think that's probably a better move for fantasy than Isaiah Likely. He's got a 3 year deal, so he'll be happy with that. He got paid quite
yeah.
well as well. And there's no other real competition
No,
for the position. There's Ben Sennett, who's done nothing.
nothing.
who?
No.
Uh, exactly. um, and obviously Zach Ertz has gone out the door,
Yeah,
but they used Ertz a lot, and like he was
that's
washed
what I
up
was
when he
going to
went
say.
there. and they've
Jaden
still
Daniels and Saka had a really good connection, didn't they?
yeah. So I can see this deal being like actually surprising, like a little bit like of a surprise, and I think he could
Yeah,
break into the top 10 tight ends. But again, that doesn't
yeah.
really mean a hell of a lot if you haven't got one of the
No, I was
top
going to
two
say
or
it's not a
three.
big. It's not. So I was going to say that's the thing with tight ends. It is so dependent on if you have a Kittle, if you have a Bowers, if you have a McBride. But even this year, we might see say Colston Loveland. I know Fletch, and
Yeah, yeah.
obviously like Colston Loveland being a Michigan fan, but or even Harold Fanning having even better. Yeah, like in terms of one of them guys might be one to break in. But like you said,
Yeah.
kind of being a top 10 fantasy tight end doesn't really mean much. We see Hunter Henry be a top 10 tight end every year, and it's
I
Hunter
think Kyle
Henry.
Pitts was number 2 last year, and that was on the back of
Yeah.
that one game. I think he would have been something like a 7 or 8 if it wasn't for that one game. So you can see the gap's quite narrow. But yeah, I think it's a good move. I liked Chig a couple of years ago. I thought he was really good, and then sort of is it just because the Titans have been a bit poor, but he sort of disappeared
Yeah.
off. So it's going to be a really interesting move on how he sort of bounces back with his second team.
Yeah, you always find with fantasy as well. There's a clear couple, and then it's just a best guess who really is going to be next. Tucker Craft is always money.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Apart from obviously he got the injury this year, but Tucker Craft is normally money. And obviously you've obviously got your why is his name gone left me from the Raiders? Brock Bowers.
Brock Bowers.
You've
Yeah,
got
Bowers,
your
yeah.
Brock Bowers. Sam and some of them you get 1 year out of them and then they just don't. They just seem to have one good year.
Yeah.
Sam Laporta so far has shown to be had that one great year, his rookie year, and then kind of fell off a little bit. The Lions started distributing the ball to other targets instead. Um, and then obviously, well, you've obviously then got your George Kittles of the world and guys like that. But yeah, you always seem to find there's one or two clear tight ends and then whatever. But I mean, last year I was in that many leagues and just kept finding David and Joku popping up and just being like, why not? Like Harold
Mhm.
Fanning was someone I did put quite a bit of stock into in quite a few leagues, and it generally paid off for where I got in quite late, so it generally paid off. But the amount of times I find David and Joku and go, why the hell not? Like he's there. The upside. I mean, you never taking him as it was never taking him as tight end one. Like, but
he's
maybe
certainly a good late
sometimes.
Well, it's
round.
worth the risk.
Yeah, I think with tight end, it's like a similar one, like an approach in the draft. Usually, you sort of push your tight end down and maybe like get 2 or 3 and sort of see who's got the best matchup. This
Yeah.
year, though, I think there is like there's a good 5. Like there's a solid 5. You've got Tyler Warren, Colson Loveland in
Forgot
there.
about
You've
Tyler
got
Warren.
Brock Bowers and Trey McBride in there, and then is Kittle going to come back from his injury? Like he could be if he comes back well. He's obviously a good option. Harold
Yeah.
Fanning, I do think could step up there, although he is at the Browns, so you never know what goes on there. But
Also,
Yeah.
they've got like 900 QBs to choose from first,
yeah,
Yeah.
so depends who's
just play them
throwing
all
to
at
him. Could be
once.
anyone. I could throw for the Browns this year. No one knows.
Very, very possible.
It is
We,
possible. Yeah. So yeah, be an interesting one though to see. Again, I say with Harold Fanning going into it. I like obviously, as you said, I like Colston Loveland for many reasons. National champion with Michigan, the incredible quote after Michigan beat Michigan State, where he said he's just started calling him little bro on TV. Brilliant. Um, but what I did like last year was how much I hated the fact that he was in division, obviously. Um, but Caleb Williams can like towards, I'd say, latter end of the second half, the last kind of quarter of the season, Caleb Williams really started to trust Colston Loveland as
Yeah.
one of those again bigger body types of guys. You've not really got a tight end coming into the draft this year, other than Kenyon Sadiq, who
yeah.
is going to be a phenomenal passing asset. Like he can't block for anything, but he will be a fantastic passing asset. The rest of them, that's it. It's just Kenyon
There
Sadiq
is
in this
another
year's draft.
guy. Is it
There's
Eli Stowers?
Eli
Yeah,
Stowers
it's
would
the
be
one who
good.
had the mental combine, didn't he?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
he could be good, but I'm not a massive fan of either of. Well, compared to like other years, like last year we had Warren and Loveland come in and Harold
Loveland,
Fanning come in,
yeah.
and they were like proper
Mhm.
tight ends. Whereas like Kenyon Sadiq, he's like, I mean, he's a phenomenal athlete, but is he going to be an NFL great tight end? He's
yeah.
he's
No,
giving
he's
me
not this.
Kyle Pitts vibes. And Kyle Pitts has been a letdown most seasons. So, but yeah, it's a position that's getting stronger. But if you're not, if you haven't got one of those top guys, then yeah, just punt to later on in the draft. Just pick two or
That's
three
what
of them and just sort of hope for the best.
that's what I did. Kind of not before we move on from Titans, talking about another Michigan guy. I had AJ Barner in maybe 6 leagues this year, and he was so hit and miss. Yeah, I've had 3 fantasy points or 28. There was no difference, and I don't think he's just. Here's another one. He's just not got a guaranteed role in that offense all the time. He's a great blocker as well. Don't get me wrong, but in terms of what does blocking do for fantasy, you don't get any points for that. So in terms of, there's another one like really talented tight end. I really like AJ Barner, but he's just not worth having on fantasy really. Well, he's worth rostering.
He's just he goes in that big pot of tight ends who you just literally pick this week. This matchup looks good. I'm going to go for it. Like tight ends are a funny position because like you've seen what Kelsey's been like for like all them years of dominance. He's a difference maker at that one position, and often you only play one tight end. So if you can get a McBride in the end of the second, early third, or someone like that, then he's certainly worth taking.
Yeah.
But other than that, I just like the McBride and Brock Bowers and those. Then other than that, you just punt.
Yeah, generally, I'm absolutely with you there. Is there anyone left available that we've not spoken about yet that you really wanna mention?
The only thing for me would be there's a couple of guys who haven't signed anywhere yet, and like they'll be interesting to see where they land.
Yeah.
You've got Diggs, Debo. They're all coming to the end of their careers, but like they've got a year, 2 years left of fantasy relevance in. So it all depends on the landing spot. I kind of feel like Diggs in particular will want to go somewhere that are challenging. So obviously that means if he does land, like he was very good at the Patriots last year. I think he was a wide receiver 2 on the season.
Yeah.
If he lands in the right spot, I do think he will be fantasy relevant. Debo started the season on fire and then sort of drifted away.
Yeah.
Maybe that was down to like Mariota being quarterback rather than Daniels, but those two mainly. David Njoku, I'm kind of interested in where he goes.
Yeah.
And then Juwan Jennings, I'm less bothered about. Like the rumors are that he's asking for too much money. So
too much money. Yeah.
If that's the case, then that's not a guy I want on my team. So no doubt he'll sign for the Dolphins next week. So.
Just out of
Go on, sorry, Kian.
So I was just saying, just out of interest, for Stephon Diggs mainly, where would you like to see him end up for fantasy? Because I've got down the Ravens. I know he's from Maryland himself. I'm one of these people. I'm not really keen on Zay Flowers. I'm not huge on him at all, and I think Stephon Diggs can actually really add something to that passing game in Baltimore.
Yeah,
not wide receiver 1, but it'd be worth kind of a good flex wide receiver 2.
I think that's a great shout somewhere like that. I would say if the Eagles trade AJ Brown, then maybe Diggs comes in for the Eagles, a challenging team. Yeah. Other than that, I'm not really sure. I can't see him as a 49 of those sort of teams. But yeah, I could see like I think he wants to be a challenger. So I think him going to either of those two teams is sort of right up his street.
Do you think it's a case of let's carry on, mate?
He might want to go to Vegas and have a good time there.
I think that's part of the issue why he's not been signed is the fact that there's so much extra baggage with Stephon Diggs because he still is talented. We've seen it last year.
Yeah.
It's just as talented, but there's so much off the field stuff that comes with it. That's kind of my worry with, like you said, the Ravens or 49ers are one of these teams who are, like you said, big markets, contenders. Going to want to take a risk on someone who comes with so much extra baggage.
They will for a 1-year deal if he gets in the title. But yeah, I was surprised the Pats let him go.
I was literally gonna say just keep him away from Vegas.
Yeah,
that was my one thing was for his sake and for the team's sake, keep him away from Vegas, the one place, and keep him away from Fernando Mendoza. That kid is too wholesome. That's too wholesome for a Stephon Diggs. And pair him with a Max Crosby in that locker room. That's just a recipe for a lot of things to go bad. I always see with guys like that, you watch, he'll end up at the Chiefs or something.
Yeah,
that's a good
shout. Because the Chiefs
they like a trouble.
They like a troublemaker. And Andy Reid likes a bad boy. But he knows just how to get the best out of them. And as a general rule of thumb, off season trouble comes, but during the season you don't tend to get too much trouble out of a Chiefs player. While Andy Reid's got him under his thumb. Same with Bill Belichick a couple of years ago. Like, some things that you. Naming no names of specific players who went wrong at the Patriots in the offseason.
Can't think of any off the top of my head.
No, not a single one.
Definitely didn't play tight end either.
Definitely did not come from Florida. and play for the Florida Gators. Um, but you look at guys like guys who played under Bill Belichick. You had no trouble out of guys who played, especially during the season while they were under
Yeah,
Belichick's watch. No trouble whatsoever because Belichick knew how to keep the guys in check. And Andy Reid's one of those kind of coaches. I don't see a team like I'm just saying, teams like the Lions where they value just culture too much. But there will be teams out there who were willing to take a punt on him in the hopes that, maybe we can tame this bad boy, at
three great
least for the
shouts there,
season.
though. Three
Yeah.
great shouts. You got the Chiefs, Ravens, and Eagles. Like, I think they're great places for him to go.
Yeah,
What about Debo then? Where would you like to see him?
I put down the Saints just because I was really struggling to find him a spot. I think mainly the Saints need help in the passing game. He offers something a little bit different to Chris Olave. Yeah, another one might even be the Ravens. But for all we know, the Ravens might be addressing wide receiver in the draft, so it's all good saying it. I put him and Juwan Jennings both down for the Jets as well. I think they both need both the Jets need someone who they can put the other side of Garrett Wilson to help out in the passing game as well.
Yeah.
yeah,
A a lot of these teams could address, like Ravens have been linked with a wide receiver in the
Yeah,
draft early, so have the Saints, so have the Jets even.
yeah,
So
the
all of
Jets have
these
got
could
two
be,
picks, obviously.
yeah, all of these teams could be addressing it there. But I mean, yeah, I can see him going to the Saints. I think I could see him. There's two I think over to the Raiders. I think as a sort of a solid, more senior wide receiver to
Yeah.
help Cousins and Mendoza. But I generally could see him coming to the Dolphins. I think he could end up at the Dolphins and be the number one this season.
Would you be happy with it, or
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, compared to what we've got, he's an
not what
absolute
you've got?
superstar. But I can see that a 1 year deal, like coming over there, sort of getting to he'll have good numbers, getting to be the
Yeah,
number one guy there, maybe get himself a better deal next year. I think that's why he kind of went to the Commanders as well to have that
yeah.
opportunity to be the main man. And for a period, he was really good for fantasy. So yeah, I could see him definitely being at the Dolphins, and I could also maybe see Jennings go, one of him or Jennings going to the Dolphins, but I hope it's not Jennings.
yeah. Um, Anyone else you feel like needs to be mentioned just real quick before we start to wrap it up?
Not that I can
Obviously
think of.
Aaron Rodgers just no, I'm not joking. No one picks up Aaron Rodgers in fantasy unless there's just nothing left for you to take.
Unless you're in like a 26-man league and you've got no
Yeah,
options.
you've got a four quarterback league. Why not? Like he'll be good as your QB4 in a four quarterback league. Um,
But
Nothing
he'll end up
again.
at the Steelers, won't he? Surely that's the only place he can.
Yeah,
He's
it's
got it.
Steelers or retire is what I put. It's either done or he goes back to the Steelers.
I think the way
Um,
he's playing the Steelers is disgraceful. Like he's waiting until just before the draft and he's not committed yet. Like if I was them, I wouldn't be looking at it. I'd have gone for somebody else and said
Just
like,
just draft Ty Simpson.
yeah, I mean, but they're not. He's not giving them an option, is he? Like he's not really helping them out here, and I think he likes that control and that power.
Yeah.
Um,
He's
it's a,
always been that way. He's got such a big ego. It's the
yeah,
Aaron Rodgers show. Always. It was the same when it was on the
yeah,
Jets and towards the end of the time of the Packers as well.
yeah.
yeah, absolutely agree. I think football would be a better place at this point if he did retire, and that's not just because he was a former Packers legend, and torched my team for a lot of nightmares of him at the Packers. Um, as we start to wrap it up, though, I've got a question for you myself. Right, just want to wrap it up. Now we spoke about these fantasy fool's gold. I'll take which question shall I? Oh, yeah, I'll go with this one. Is there a player over the years that you played fantasy that you have one of those weird relationships with? Maybe you pick them all the time, and they just that you've always just got that glimmer of hope for this one player, but they never pull up. But every year you go back saying it's going to be different, and there's a toxic relationship there. Maybe. Have you got any players like that that just like every year you just put that bit of stock into them, and every year they let you down?
I'll let you go first, Liam, whilst I have a think.
Yeah, I've sort of been bitten by Kyler Murray a couple of times, but and like I'm out of that toxic relationship now. The other one that got me, and then I ended up just having enough of it, and then it's ended up looking bad now. I'm in one of my main leagues is a keeper league. You keep 8 players every year. I kept Chris Olave, drafted him, kept him for the first 2 or 3 years. Every single year, he looked amazing when he was fit, but he didn't have a quarterback to pass in the ball. 3 years in or whatever, I maybe got out of it in a trade or just didn't keep him, and now he looks insane again. So it's kind of one of those like, yeah, it bit me, but I couldn't keep going back in. It was like it's like being burnt every time, and then yeah, I couldn't keep doing it. So Chris
Yeah,
Olave was one recent years. There's probably been many, but yeah,
yeah.
Chris Olave certainly recently.
Yeah, with me as well, similar to you, Liam, I've got an Ohio State receiver as well, much to Fletcher's joy. I've gone Garrett Wilson. Every
So's a
year
lot
I've
of
done
them.
fantasy, every single year I've done fantasy, I've drafted Garrett Wilson. When it was Rodgers, I thought, oh great, he's got Aaron Rodgers, an actual quarterback. When they brought in Justin Fields last year, him and Fields to play together at Ohio, this is going to work. And I'll be there again this summer as well. I'll be back. It's working with Gino this time. And the other thing is, like similar to Olave, he's not particularly bad for fantasy. You just hope because of how talented they are, you would push into that thing. Like, I used to convince myself Garrett Wilson was better than JSN, but yeah, I mean, like it's always that hope.
The
It's
Wilson one's funny because like I'm probably in on him again, but I have absolutely no idea why, and I'm just going back in. Yeah, but you just think he's so talented, he should be amazing, but it doesn't. Talented on the NFL field doesn't mean talented
Doesn't
in
yeah,
fantasy.
exactly.
The
yeah.
other one's Cortland Sutton as well. Cortland Sutton's been that sort of. He's always been a very talented wide receiver, but he's never got to where you want him to do.
Where they want
Yeah.
to be.
Right. I've got two hats to wear on this one, so I will switch this hat and just go. See, should never trust an Ohio State receiver. That was your problem. Screw the lot of him, and I'll put the proper NFL hat back on and just say, look, an Ohio State receiver, you can't be blamed for believing in one. Sadly, that school continues to produce high end quality wide receiver talent. It looks to continue again this year in Carnell Tate. It'll continue the year after when Jeremiah Smith comes in to the draft. Like it's a constant. They've got to be wide receiver you at this point, or at
Yeah,
least that
it's them.
it's was up.
No, I was going to say, I think like historically, it's always been LSU or Ohio, but I think now with sneaky shots, USC. USC produce some really good wide receivers.
USC historically have tended to be wide receiver you. Then you had LSU take over for a couple
Yeah,
of years. If you are not anyone who's not familiar with college football very much, I urge you and implore you to go and look at the 2019 LSU roster. And I promise you, you can name 2/3 of that roster that are currently high-end NFL talent, Pro Bowlers, All Pros, or played in Super Bowls and won Super Bowls and been in MVP conversations. That is a stacked college football roster. You've got Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase are both in that conversation, both in that. Two of the very best wide receivers in the NFL right now. USC historically have always produced high quality wide receivers. Dare I even throw out a name right now in Amon-Ra St. Brown, one of the top paid and best wide receivers in the league. But Ohio State, as of the last few years, it's over the last 5 years, they've produced 6 first round wide receivers. This year they'll have another. Next year they'll have at least one more. Next year they'll have at least one more. So it's a consistent conveyor belt. I'll give you mine, and it's Amari Cooper. I have had a genuine love-hate relationship with Amari Cooper now for about 3 years as far as fantasy football goes. I draft him every single year, and it was only 2025 when, in fact, to be fair, I was going through a couple of bits on a fantasy one, and I was like, Mrs. Fletch was sat next to me, and she didn't say it's fine, she'll do this. She doesn't really know that. She isn't really a football person. But when I say, she says, what you doing? I'm drafting. It's like, who are you looking at picking? I'm going, oh, you got this guy. I might go with Amari Cooper. And she said to me, it's one name she remembers. Don't do it. Don't take him. I made a promise to keep me from doing it, which that's what marriage is all about, gents. If your spouse's significant other is not stopping you from making bad fantasy football decisions, then why are you married to them? Is my question to you. For 2 years, I'd draft him in multiple leagues. He'd have a great week. It may be on the bench one week, right? Let's say I have 3 receivers in. He'd be on the bench as my wide receiver 4. He'd have an amazing week, and I won't bite at it. and then I'll have another amazing week, and I'll go, right, okay, we've got Amari Cooper, so I'll put him in, and then he'll put up 4 points. 2 receptions, both for 10 yard, like put up 4 points. And then I'll go, right, okay, right, I'm not buying into this Amari Cooper. I'll bench him again, and then he'll go and get 23 points. So then I'll put him back in and go, right, okay, maybe it's just a 1 game dip every now and again, and then he'll go and put up a stinker. And then, so if he was on my bench, he had a great game. If he was in my roster, he had a stinker. And do you know what? The smart thing would have been to do is put him on my roster in half of my leagues, bench him in the other half, and then I benefit either way. But no, I'm only ever either all in on him or all out of him, and that just seems to be the case. To the point where one of my mates really, really wanted Amari Cooper to do well. So we said, can you please put Amari Cooper on your bench? Because then I know we'll do really, really well. So he's my kind of love-hate player. I did have one a couple of years ago with Javonte Williams.
Yeah, I've had that issue as well.
Free-
Now he's pretty good.
No, it's
Free
really
Broncos.
good. Yeah.
I
For the
was
Broncos.
like, it was like my first, I think it was one of my first years of taking fantasy really seriously. So I was doing all the pre-draft, like I'm listening to all the podcasts, I'm listening to whatever. And it was always Javonte Williams, take him as like, if he's pick 3 in the draft, take him. He's going to be the greatest running back ever to have existed. Halfway through his first game, tore his ACL, was out for the rest of the season. And I was like, oh, goodness sake. Of course he did. So yeah, that'd be mine. Amari Cooper, and then I had one really weird one with Javonte Williams.
Javonte was in that keeper league of mine as well. I drafted him to be great. He didn't do it. He got injured, then held him, didn't do anything. Held him, didn't do anything. Got rid of him. He goes to the bloody Cowboys and he has a great year against
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
I did have Amari Cooper when he had that record game when with Joe Flacco just kept passing him the ball. He was 265 yards.
Yeah,
I was watching that and I just thought Flacco's having fun here. He was just like every ball was to Amari Cooper. It was amazing.
yeah. And he was in your
That's
team.
fair.
Yeah, I had him on. I was playing him that week. I managed to
Yeah,
get him late in the season. I was like, and it was absolutely fantastic for that the rest of that season.
That
yeah.
is one
You're
positive
welcome for
with
me
Joe
benching him.
Thank you, mate.
Flacco.
You're welcome. I benched him just for you, to be fair. I think I've got him in my notes. Like, I think there's a guy called Liam out there who needs
Yeah,
me right now.
he needs this.
He needs it. So I've got you, Liam. And it was me all along.
Thank you.
So yeah, no worries. I think that's about it, really, to be fair. That unless again, anything else you want to get out there before we finish.
No, I think that's it. I think all good.
That's about it. Yeah.
No, Sam, I hope I've done you justice today. I doubt it, but look, it's hard not to have a good job. Do a good job when you're working with you two. So before we go, I think I'll just remind everyone because, well, I'm the one who well, no, I won't going to do that. To follow the AAW_network on all of social media, AAW_NFL, which is where you'll find like all the stuff to do with this podcast. We'll have more fantasy content coming out over on the socials over the coming months. Follow AAW_CFB, college football stuff. We're obviously pre-draft. We've got lots of stuff coming up on both of them. The AAW first round mock draft featuring both of you gents will be on it, won't you? You're both in it.
Yeah.
Will be taking place on the 21st of April, so we'll be out on the 22nd. Keep an eye on that on the AAW YouTube channel. Go subscribe. All links are in the description to the episode. Unless you are on YouTube, then like it's right there. Click subscribe. Come on. And then yeah, just keep an eye on the socials and follow these two. Follow these two. Follow me. Follow AWNFL, and I'm after 2 years still can't do endings to episodes. It's not good. Still can't do it.